When invoices have been created and posted, they cannot be edited. To add amount to the invoices, use Debit Note. To reduce amount of the invoice, use Credit Note. To manage credit/debit notes for panel invoices, go to Reports page. Specify the period. In this example, we click this year to select the entire year. Before creating credit/debit notes, first find out the details of the invoice that the credit/debit note is going to be added on. Let's list the invoices first. If panel is selected here, only the selected panel's invoices will be listed, otherwise all panel's invoices will be listed. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes to list the invoices. This invoice here has been posted, therefore no editing/deleting can be done. This is the invoice's amount, Rm385. Next, we will reduce this amount to Rm380 by adding a credit note for Rm5. Select the panel that we want to add credit note to. Click New here to add a new credit note. All the invoices for this panel will be listed here. To add a credit note, you must know which invoice to add the credit note to. Select the invoice that the credit note is to be added to. Enter the date of the credit note. If you enter the credit note amount here, this amount is applied without tagging to any VN in the invoice, unapportioned. If you enter the amount here for a specific VN, the amount is tagged to this VN. This is the better way, as you will be able to keep track the credit amount by VN. Note the amount here is automatically filled if you enter the amount in a specific VN. Enter the reason for this credit note here. Click Enter to save this credit note. To list and check the credit notes, click List here. Click View to show the credit note. The credit note will be displayed like this. If the credit note has not been posted, you can edit accordingly and click Edit to save. To delete, click Delete. Note that if the credit note is not posted, the credit amount will not take effect. Let's see the invoice that we applied the credit note to. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. Note that the invoice amount is still Rm385.00 even though we have created credit note for Rm5. This is because the credit note is not posted yet. To post the credit note, click List here. And click Post for the credit note. Now let's see the invoice amount after the credit note has been posted. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. Note that the invoice amount is now Rm380 after Rm5 credit note has been applied. Original invoice amount is Rm385. Now let's try to add the invoice value by adding a debit note. Click New to add a new debit note. Tick the invoice that the debit note is to be added to. Enter the date of the debit note. For debit note, if the amount added is not tagged to any specific VN, enter the amount here. Type in the reason for this debit note. If you are adding charges to a specific VN, you can add here for that VN. Click Enter to save this debit note. To list and check the debit notes, click List here. Click View to show the debit note. The debit note will be displayed like this. If the debit note has not been posted, you can edit accordingly and click Edit to save. To delete, click Delete. Now let's see the invoice amount. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. Note that the invoice amount is still Rm380.00 even though we have created debit note for Rm10. This is because the debit note is not posted yet. To post the debit note, list all debit notes by clicking List here. Click Post for the debit note. Let's see the invoice amount after the debit note has been posted. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. Note the invoice amount now is Rm390 after adding debit note of Rm10. This is the original invoice amount before any credit/debit notes were applied. In this example, Rm5 credit note and Rm10 debit note were applied, so the final invoice amount is 385 to 5 plus 10 equals 390. That's it. You're done.